This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There he is, Ira Winderman. He is ready. He is locked and loaded. I like these new boards that Sean came up with. Looks really sharp. Very nice job by you, Sean. Anyway, Ira, how you feeling, baby? You feeling good on a Saturday?
Good on a Saturday, although I was out there for about 2 hours and 20 minutes of tennis this morning. Almost died. It's like, I got to tell you one thing, and you remember this back to the Shirley years with the Dolphins. If you don't maximize this South Florida heat advantage, if you're the Dolphins, I mean, you know what it was like out of camp today. It's a 100-degree temperature heat index every single day. You got to maximize it. But holy crap, Big O. I mean, August in South Florida is like, I don't know, sort of just south of hell.
I'm with you. No, it's absolutely brutal. And when you're out west like we were, I was just talking because Cam's out there, just feels like an oven. Here it feels like you're in a I guess a pressure cooker, and over there you feel like you're in an oven. I don't know.
Yeah,
man.
here you got that nice moistness at least going for you. So there, so as my people would say, you're schwitzing a little, but at least you're out there and it's cooling you off some. And I got to tell you, I really haven't experienced August winds like this in recent years. And maybe it's global climate change or whatever, but it's been far windier for any August than I know. So that's been a little change of pace also.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Let me ask you before I get into the heat.
Sure.
Did you see Sharif O'Neal and Robert Horry exchange? And I got to tell you something. Props to Shaq and Shawnee. I don't know which one raised them more, whatever the hell. Or I loved how he handled it. I thought that was like incredibly mature. You don't expect most of these kids to take it that way. He took it like a challenge. He took it like a respectful elder respectfully busting your balls. You know what I'm saying? And I really liked his. And for those of you that don't know, Robert Horry put out, I don't know if he has that dog in him to go out there and take what he wants. And he was elaborating, like, if you're going to carry the O'Neal name and all that stuff. So Sharif says, I know this is out of love and no disrespect. I got you, big shot. But you know who raised me. I don't quit. Always been taught to go get it and take it. Been heading in the right step. Like I said, I got you. You'll see. I don't know if Sharif will ever turn into anything.
He won't.
I don't know how good he is or anything like that. And I know it's brutal being a son of these kids because I watch Michael's kid. I watch Pete Rose's kid. I watch Ted Williams' kid. I've seen it throughout my entire life. It's the most brutal thing in the world to be the son or daughter of one of these great athletes. You know what I mean? But I'll give him credit at least.
And Sharif O'Neal would not have been in the Lakers Summer League if it wasn't for his family name. But you know what, folks? That's part of life. Because Alonzo Mourning's son would not have been able to cobble together a career, Trey Mourning, with the Heat's G League team in Sioux Falls. Then he got an offer to play in New Zealand. So, yeah, it's like anything else in life. You take advantage of your family name, but it's not going to put you in the NBA if you're not good enough. It's not going to get you a roster spot. It'll open some doors. And you know what? Sharif O'Neal can go overseas and carve out a basketball career if that's his passion. We've seen Glenn Rice Jr. Glenn Rice's son has done that. We've seen Anthony Mason Jr. spend some time with the Heat and then went to their G League team also. You do take care of your own. It's not nepotism or anything like that when it's a matter of just getting them in the door, in the door in the game. If you were to give them a roster spot, it would be a lot different, but you don't see that with most of these players. So yes, Sharif O'Neal will wind up somewhere in the basketball universe, G League or otherwise. Look, Big O, look at last year. Dwayne Wade's son played for Salt Lake, for the Utah Jazz's G League team. Never went anywhere. No one's talking about him since. But hey, you can do that for your kid. These are the kind of things, if you can open doors for your kids, you see where it leads. And eventually, someone like Sharif O'Neal, like Dwayne Wade's son, will realize, okay, my dad was great. I'm not good enough. No shame in that. I'll be great in something else.
Yeah, no, it's I just like that he's grounded enough to handle it, the right way, and I'm sure he also knows deep down inside he's got a lot to prove. So sure. It's good. I was impressed because you don't see young people handling things like that
maturely
more often than that maturely. They just don't, man. All right. Fill us in, man. What's going on in the Heat Nation? It's kind of like almost the same conversation we have twice a week here.
Yeah,
What has changed here
well,
in
there
early
are some subtle things. We know that Kyle Lowry spoke the other day about in the golf tournament in Toronto, Nick Nurse's golf tournament, that hey, I was distracted on something that had to distract me because of a major family issue. And again, when you remember this in February, you were asking me what it was, and I said yes, I know, but I'm not getting into it. But we all know that if something is deeply involving a loved one, a member of your family, you prioritize that. And I've seen people in Ask Ira at sunsentinel.com, enough is enough. No, that just doesn't change. But here's the deal. He recognized that he wasn't the same player because of it. So he didn't, when you talk about maturity, he also could have said, hey, I still was good enough. I still did all you ask. I just got hurt in the playoffs. I love a player who says, you know what? I need to do more. He used the word 3 different times in his interview with the group session in Toronto that his season was derailed. And I love that, Big O, for this reason. If you acknowledge your season was derailed, you're saying you're not the player you should have been. You should have been more. And maybe by saying his season was derailed, what he also was saying was his conditioning was derailed. So we had that. Then he went on Vince Carter's podcast. That actually was taped before he was in Toronto. And he was talked about there's an acronym called THCC, THCC, and it's for someone who has junk in their trunk, shall we say. And it's been used for Kardashians, but I didn't know this until I saw it. There are so many memes of sort of Kyle Lowry, I like big butts, and I got one, and I ain't gonna lie. And it was kind of funny. And he said, you know what? This is who I always was. This is who I was at Villanova. This is who I was when I came up in the NBA. This is who I was when I was a 2-time All-Star. This is my body type. He realizes he has to get in better shape, but he says, you're not going to change what he is. And you remember this, Big O. Yes, Tim Hardaway at times was out of shape or overweight, but he always had that big butt that he worked to his advantage, that he was a 6-foot post-up player who a month from today now is going into the Basketball Hall of Fame. He found a way. And one other thing with Kyle, and I listened to this, I'm going to write a story in the Sun Sentinel about it, is Kyle also said, just because I have 2 years on my contract doesn't mean I'm thinking about hanging it up. And I'm going to play as long as I love the game and as long as I love winning. And I think that's important because I think a lot of us are looking at this Miami Heat 2-year window. And if there's a kind of cerebral player who might be able to extend his career, I could see Kyle Lowry as a point guard being that kind of player. So what I like is you're talking about a slow summer. So we get to look in a little bit different direction. But here's what matters the most. And I don't know what kind of language I'm going to use so you can fill it in. Kyle Lowry gives I'll say damn. You can use an S word or something like that. Right. That's all I ask. That's all I ask is for a player to say last season wasn't good enough and I have to give you more. And I think that's what we're seeing slowly in these small public, outings by Kyle Lowry saying, I've got to be better. Because Big O said it at the end of the season. Pat Riley said it at the end of the season. Eric Spoelstra said it at the end of the season. We all were waiting. Does Kyle know that he wasn't great last season? And now Kyle is saying, yeah, I not only wasn't great, I really wasn't that good. And I have to be better. You know what, Big O? You have to start somewhere. So if you're talking about Sharif O'Neal's candor, I think you can also mention Kyle Lowry's candor. That's all I want. Is someone saying I have to be better. If he said he was good enough, oh my God, you and I would have more fodder and carry us right to the start of training camp.
Yeah, we would definitely have a problem with that. All right, your partner in crime every Wednesday on the redrecover.com Inside the Paint show, Kurt Heelan, had a report there in Pro Basketball Talk talking about other teams not willing to facilitate the Kevin Durant deal. Now, from my understanding, it doesn't seem like Boston really needs a third team, but the Suns may need a third team. The Heat may need a third team. What are you hearing? What's going on? Because if there's an issue with a third team, then that really creates we've talked about this already. Miami's already at a major disadvantage. This just makes the disadvantage that much bigger if there aren't other teams that are, I guess, willing to help facilitate or
get a piece of pie. Everyone is willing to do something at a price.
Right.
So you have to just wait it out. This is the liar's poker we've spoken about. I just posted my column at sunsentinel.com about the fear of missing out and what the Heat are going to do. Think about some of the biggest Heat trades ever. Think about that humongous trade they made with Memphis. Remember when they got Jason Williams and Antoine Walker and James Posey? It involved the Pelicans and the Celtics, and I think the Jazz were in there. I think it was a 4 or 5 team trade. So you have a trade like that. Think of the Jimmy Butler trade. Pat Riley, Andy Ellisberg had no salary cap space. All of a sudden, Hassan Whiteside was going to Portland, and the Heat draft choice was going to the Clippers, and the Heat were getting Mo Harkless back in the deal. And what was supposed to be just the Miami Heat making a simple sign and trade with Josh Richardson to the Philadelphia 76ers became this massive deal that at one point, as you remember, Big O, Dallas was almost involved. Remember, Olynyk and Goran Dragic were going to be part of that also. Stuff is hard. And weak and small-time front offices can't think in sort of that, the beautiful mind type of thinking. Andy Ellisberg can. He has that big board in front of him, and he's moving things around. So if you're telling me the Heat can't make a deal for Kevin Durant because it might be hard, if you're telling me they can't make a deal for Donovan Mitchell because it might be hard, Andy Ellisberg is sitting there going, screw hard. Get me my abacus. I'll sit here. I'll move some of the beats here and there, and I'll get a deal done. Of course, teams like Oklahoma City are going, well, if you want us to free up another draft pick, you're going to have to give us an asset or something else. Why shouldn't they say that, Sam Presti? That's all he does.
Right.
He doesn't build a winner. He just collects stuff. So you have something like that. Or I mentioned this with Kurt Heelan when we did our Red Recover Inside the Paint show this week. The deal with the Jazz, where they want like 5 first-round picks, the Heat can generate that if they send Tyler Hero out for 2 first-round picks elsewhere. Now, you get a weak-ass organization that simply can't bring in a player in free agency. They might go, you know what? We're just the Sacramento Kings. We'll give you 2 good first-round picks. We want this boy wonder. We can get him out here. We can market him. We need something. We just traded Halliburton. So what I'm saying is those other teams might be saying right now they're not interested. But you know what? Andy Ellisberg will craft something. Think about this. He got the Portland Trailblazers to take Hassan Whiteside. So I think, as our good friend Kevin Garnett might say, anything is possible.
Crazy stuff, man. All right. What's your gut tell you? Like, do you think the Heat, what's the percentages of the big prize, which is Durant/Mitchell, and what's the percentages of all the other guys, whether,
I would say this. I think Durant is still possible because, let's face it, Sean Marks got so uncomfortable at the start of this. You remember all this, the eve of free agency, and Woj and Shams are reporting, oh my God, Durant asked his way out. At no point since, in the 6 weeks since then, have we heard Kevin Durant say, hey, I never said that. I'm fine. I'm going in. He is flatlined. We have heard nothing. Matter of fact, if anyone sees Kevin Durant, please give me or Big O a holler just so we'll know he's safe. We've seen or heard nothing from him. Donovan Mitchell is a little different. Danny Ainge has a plan. He has a plan. You have to bring me more draft choices than I got from Rudy Gobert because I'm going to load up on that. The Heat can't do that right now. I think that's a little bit more distant. The Durant thing's going to hang out there, and it's going to get very uncomfortable. And Big O, you've had plenty of writers on from New York. You know how the New York tabloid media is. The last thing they want is on September 26th to have a media day with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. And you know what? Andy Ellisberg knows that. And Pat Riley knows that, and Adam Simon and Nick Harrison. So you wait till you get it closer. We've seen several of these deals where the last thing you want is for a guy to show to camp. We've also seen the NBA does something unlike a lot of other sports. They let a guy not report. Even in the NFL, remember that some guys this past week, they reported, but they wouldn't practice until they got their deals reworked, but they showed up. The NBA sort of tells guys you can stay away. The NBA has told guys for an entire season, John Wall spent more time in Miami last season than he did in Houston. You can stay away. If we make a deal, fine. If not, not. So I think we're going to sort of get to loggerheads at some point with this. And it's funny because when I wrote my Sunday notes for the Sun Sentinel, posted them today, I built it off the conversation you and I had in our Acura Pembroke Pines reports this week about the fear of missing out, that there are other deals. The more I look at Miles Turner, the more I'm going, screw Kevin Durant, screw Donovan Mitchell, they're great. But man, that guy fits. He will block shots. He will give you inside intimidation. He will hit 3-pointers. That might work for me. I know you're a John Collins guy. You're saying Jimmy Butler needs.
No, but I love Miles Turner.
Right.
I love Miles Turner.
Or even John Collins. That guy.
I'd rather have any of those two guys over Jay Crowder and Harrison Barnes.
Right, and Jay Crowder is still liking my tweets about saying he's a good replacement for PJ Tucker. I think he did again today. Like, Jay, I'm doing what I can here, but I'm not Andy Ellisberg, so I find that kind of interesting. So what I'm saying is I just wonder if you cut bait at a certain point, and this is what's going to happen. Pat Riley and Andy Ellisberg will play the game just like everyone else, and they'll call Danny Ainge April 18th, and they'll call Sean Marks April 23rd, and they'll say, we have another deal on the table that we've been nice enough that Orlando Alzugaray and Ira Winderman are putting out there, and we'll put the pressure on you. Do something now or we're moving on. Again, I use this term on our Acura Pembroke Pines reports all along. Maybe it's a game of liar's poker, but stuff is still happening. All these people out there, oh, the NBA is slow, nothing's still happening. No, I gave you, I think when we spoke on Thursday, like 5 different names, whether it's Harrison Barnes or Jay Crowder, or I threw in Gordon Hayward, because I think the last thing the Hornets want to do is run it back with him again after he's missed half a season each of the last 2 years. So there are names out there. These guys do have to get relocated. These things do have to get resolved. So I think there's a lot more. Matter of fact, aggregators, have fun with this. Big O Show, give them credit. Make sure people are listening. Acura Pembroke Pines Report twice a week. This is on the Big O Show. Plenty is happening behind the scenes in the NBA right now. I guarantee it. Because when you have product like this, it's like one of those auctions where they're setting the closing date of August 20th or whatever. There is already bidding in progress, and that bidding will not stop. Not when the prizes are Kevin Durant and Donovan Mitchell, and maybe to a lesser extent, Miles Turner, John Collins, Harrison Barnes, Gordon Hayward, and even Jay Crowder.
Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. And, of course, subscribe to the South Florida Sun Sentinel like I do and support them locally. Ira, as always, appreciate you, sir. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll catch you next week.
Saturday with Big O. Even the Jewish guy got to jump on. Thank you, Big O.
You got it.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.